Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Story, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. I'm Owen Devereux, news and sports reporter with the Banner Press, welcoming you, as always, to the show. Appreciate you taking a little bit of your time and spending it right here with us. This week, joined by Kira Paterson. Kira, good to have you here today.
Yeah, good to be here, I guess.
All right, especially on a warm one like this, the weather is actually starting to feel a little summery. That's kind of nice.
Wow, it's amazing,
You're
even though it's raining today.
Oh, you're right. Well, actually, it's stopped right now. We've got a little reprieve in between, and with the weekend coming up, as hot as it's going to be. Oh, my Lord.
I'm not looking forward to that.
Well, hopefully, in between humidity and heat, you're going to be able to be out and about, maybe take a walk around Neepawa and the surrounding area. And if you do, maybe not this weekend, but very soon in the near future, you're going to be able to see something a little interesting on your little journey there. And Kira, fortunately, you've got the information on it.
Yeah, this is really cool. I actually had no idea that this was in the works until Nicole, the recreation director at the town of Neepawa, emailed me and said, hey, this is just about done. Did you want to come and get a picture? And I was like, it started? When did this come about? But what it is a storybook trail at the flats in Neepawa. And a storybook trail, basically, it's a series of signs, and they have the pages of a story dispersed throughout these signs. And when you go and you read the story, you go from sign to sign, and you get a little bit of physical activity, and you have a little bit of fun, and you read a story at the same time. So this was kind of a collaborative effort between three organizations in town. The town of Neepawa got the grant for this and kind of got it started. And Nicole, when she was looking at getting the signs made up, she was looking at manufacturing companies like in the US and stuff, and they were quoting her upwards of $26,000 just to build the signs. There's 18 of these signs, and that was like $26,000. That's crazy. And she got a grant for, I think, $1,300. So yeah, that was not going to cover it. So what she did was she talked to the Neepawa Men's Shed group, who are a group of local volunteers. They like to get together and build things and chat and hang out, and the things that they build typically are projects for the community. So she talked to them and they said they would be willing to build these signs for them. So the money was able to pay for the materials to build these signs, and the Men's Shed donated their time and their work to actually put them together. And then the third group that was involved was the Neepawa Public Library, and they got the books, and she's Debbie from the Neepawa Library. She's ordered in about 10 books, I believe, 10 different stories, and she's gotten a few copies of each of them so that she can have a copy in the library, and then the copies that kind of get spread out throughout the signage. So it was very much a collaborative effort. I got quotes and I got information from all three of these groups, from representatives of all three of these groups. Just wanted to recognize the effort that was put into this and how it came together. So it's really cool. It's a neat little thing that's going to be a great little addition to Neepawa, especially for the kids wanting to get out and about, but also keep reading throughout the summer. You know, sometimes kids stop reading when they don't have to because school's out, but this maybe will keep some literature in their lives throughout the summer.
That's right. Now, when did you first learn about this? You said it was essentially through the phone call by Nicole, but what date was that?
I think it was last Thursday or Friday.
Less than a week then,
yes.
Essentially.
And then she said, hey, can you come and meet me on Monday? I was like, sure. I don't know anything about this, but you guys will tell me. So
yeah. From not even knowing it exists to a front page on the Neepawa Banner Press. That's how quick it is.
Sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And that's great. I mean, we've talked so many times, specifically stories on the Men's Shed organization, and sometimes as part of other larger stories. They really step up. It seems like a lot. It's great to have an organization, a group of individuals like that in our community. Yeah, they've been doing, I think it's 2 years that they've been running now, and they've done tons of stuff just in that short time. There's the garden boxes at Salvation Army. There's new garden boxes now at Arts Forward for a kids program there. I guess they were talking to Buds and Bloom or Seeds and Sprouts, one of the daycares in town, and they're making mini Adirondack chairs for the kids. So that's really cool. They've done a ton of stuff, and you can see it throughout the community
some of the stuff they've built, and they always have a little bit of a little brand on there so that you know that that was them helping out in the community. It's just great to see something so visual from a group it's not only helping the community, but it's helping these guys. Most of them are retired. They want something to do. They want to get out and chat. So it's great for their mental health, for their social life, and just to keep them busy, get them, make them feel like they're doing something and have some fun while doing it.
That's right. And again, it's good to see that the library sees the bigger picture. They're bringing in a bunch, because I was going to ask that question, whether it was going to be just one per season or what was going to happen with that. It sounds like they're really being proactive and going to be switching things up a lot.
Yeah, Debbie was saying they want to switch it up as often as possible so that there's always something new for kids to go and see. They don't just happen to walk by the flats, oh, it's the same book again. Like they want it to be something new and fresh all the time. And she said these signs, as far as they know, they are going to work all season, so they will hold up in the winter time and stuff. So they're planning to put stuff in for some seasonal things, maybe some like Halloween stories, Christmas stories, that kind of a thing throughout the year. And then obviously stuff that's not necessarily seasonal and it's just entertaining. So it sounds like there's going to be a really good variety. And when you can kind of read the book in a series of signs, if you kind of get lost and forget what happened, you can go and sign the book out from the library because she has a copy there.
Man, they're feeling a little optimistic about that, because I don't know, come October or November, I don't know if I'll want to be standing out there for any extended periods of time reading a book.
Yeah, but kids, I mean, they read the one page. It's like a picture book, right? So they'll read the one page and then they'll run and they'll get nice and toasty warm running to the next sign. So they'll stay warm. They like to be outside. They don't care what the temperature is.
Oh, yeah, that's true. No, they're right about that. Sounds like it's a great idea. And it's just, again, one of those examples of Neepawa in some small manner trying to do something unique and expand on the opportunities and options that are available here. So you want to see a little more detail on that, get a little more information from those that were involved. You can find it right on page 1, carries over onto page 17, this week's edition of the Banner Press. All right, let's flip the page. Talk about something that has been talked about, I'm sure, right here on NAC TV many a time already. We recently lost a great individual who was an important part of the community and an important part of this radio station, Ivan Trail, who passed away. And I had an opportunity this week to write a story about him, to share some specific things in his connection to NAC TV. And I was very pleased to be able to do that. I met Ivan about 12 years ago, Kira. I came over from Brandon. I was working for a radio station in Brandon. I wasn't happy there. An opportunity presented itself in Neepawa. That opportunity wasn't here at the Banner Press, but it was somewhere else. Ultimately, I went to Portage for a few years and then came back to Neepawa because I liked the community so much. But I was working in the resource center, the old resource center before it was knocked down. And I remember being introduced to Ivan Trail because NAC TV was in the back area of the resource center. Their studio used to be all in there. There were wires everywhere. There was just all over the place, discs, DVDs, all over. This is how long ago it was, Kira. There were actually VCR tapes.
They had tapes.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
It was crazy. Cassettes everywhere. But Ivan somehow still had it all organized. Even though it looked like a bit of a mess at times, he knew where things were. That was the amazing thing. So even though I wasn't working for NAC TV, I worked near NAC TV because the radio station I was working for had this little rinky-dink little built studio in the back of the resource center and was paying rent, I guess, to NAC TV. And it was interesting because I'd be sitting in there, I'd be getting my news ready for the top of the hour. It was back when I still cared about radio. And I'd hear Ivan, he'd be doing things on the air, he'd be talking to people. He was just that type of individual that just was always ready to take a few moments of his time, talk to somebody about anything. It was just, he had a keen interest for it. And talking to individuals who knew him before then. I mean, talking about his history as a teacher, principal, his connections to the local Rotary Club, his connections just throughout. The story itself focused a lot on NACTV, but he was so much more than NACTV. Quite honestly, it could take up multiple volumes of a book. The connections and the relationships and the significance he had for the town of Neepawa. But I had an opportunity to write about his connection to NACTV and the significance of it, because there were many a time, Kira. Again, when you came in, he was already retired from it, essentially. He was in the process of retiring from it. And we, the Banner Press and NACTV, weren't in the same building at that time. Not yet.
Not yet.
But you never saw it. But he was the reason, let's be honest, the reason NACTV exists today is because of multiple people. But Ivan is the first one that should be brought up in that conversation. NACTV would not exist. You would not be sitting here getting bored by me if it weren't for Ivan. So Ivan's to blame for that. Darn you, Ivan. But no, he was a special individual, and I do hope that you do take a few minutes to read this. Not for me, not just because I wrote it, but because of the individual I wrote it about. Ivan Trail was a very important part of NACTV, and hopefully his legacy in some capacity or another will live on through the station. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you can find that story. It's on page 2 of this week's paper. Right across from that story, you have another story for us, Kira, on the travel and entertainment page. But this sort of fell into our lap.
Yeah.
An opportunity to speak to somebody with a significant relationship with Margaret Lauren's house from its humble beginnings.
Yes. This actually sort of fell into the Margaret Lawrence home's lap as well. Brenda Ferguson, who works there, she called me and was like, Kira, can you get down here today? There's a very important person at the Margaret Lawrence home today. We just found out that she was coming. Like, she's here. I'm like, okay, how long is she there? And so it was actually on the Thursday. So I was like, okay, I just need to quickly tape story behind the stories, and then I'll be over there. So I went over there last Thursday, and it's a expert on Margaret Lawrence, a scholar is what I refer to her as. Her name is Greta McCormick-Koger. She actually grew up in the Cardale area, but she's been living in Tennessee, I believe, for a long time now. She was a professor of English literature there, and she came up because Cardale was having a cairn memorial or cairn unveiling or something. And she was like, well, I'm in the area, let's go to the Margaret Lawrence home, because she's a huge fan of Margaret Lawrence. She's done a lot of work. She was actually a founding member of the Margaret Lawrence Society, which I believe is an international society of scholars who know a lot about Margaret Lawrence. And apparently Margaret Lawrence is a huge international figure, and people know about her, and people are very passionate about her. And we kind of have known that she was an important figure to Canada and to Neepawa especially, just because she did grow up here. And obviously we have the house that she grew up in for some of her years as the Margaret Lawrence House Museum. And I just never realized how important she was to so many people throughout the world. Like, she's known in Africa and Europe, like all over. And McCormick-Koger, she was telling me about all of these different international conferences that she went to, and all of the different scholars and professors and people that she knew that were experts and had their opinions on Margaret Lawrence's work and what the research they've done on her and all that. There's an insane amount of information that she told me while I was there. I think maybe 45 minutes to an hour. I did not get all of that information in this story. I did not have the space or the ability to retell that information as accurately as I would like to. So I kind of made the story about her visit, her involvement with the works of Margaret Lawrence. She actually wrote a book about I believe, kind of the feminism behind Margaret Lawrence's stories, and the poeticness of them and that kind of thing. And she also published a newsletter yearly through the Margaret Lawrence Society, which they have copies of at the Margaret Lawrence home. It's called the Margaret Lawrence Review, and they have copies of those there if you'd like to check them out. I have a picture of her holding the first edition. But yeah, it was a really cool experience just to speak to somebody who has lived all over the world, and she did come from here, but she said she didn't even know about Margaret Lawrence until she was living in Africa. So it was just really interesting to see how far of a reach this local author has in the world, and to get that perspective firsthand from somebody who is an expert on all those things.
Well, that's fantastic. And it's great to have that opportunity, just sort of, as you said, fall into our lap, as it were. Wonderful to be able to share those types of stories and appreciation for a local author. And I got to admit as well, like, I didn't know about Margaret Lawrence whatsoever until I moved here. And I consider myself a relatively learned individual. I read books. Most of them don't even have pictures in them.
I was just going to say, how many pictures do your books have in them?
Yeah. So that's, but again, I was unfamiliar. And you got to go beyond your own sort of scope when it comes to these things. Learned a bit about Margaret Lawrence and read some of her since then. And it's like, oh, wow, okay. Now I'm starting to understand, and now I'm starting to appreciate. And that appreciation and that understanding is already on a global scale as this story lays out. So we'll be able to check out and learn a little bit more, if you didn't know it already, and learn about it in this week's paper. All right, well, a lot of events. The summer is here. There's a lot of events on the go right now. And we've got a couple special features in this week's paper. One of them is a center spread for the Riverbend Makers Market. That second event is coming up very soon. The other one is on the back page for the Yellowhead Roadrunners. They're going to be having their runs, their races at the airport again, finally. They haven't been able to do it the last little while, but they're going to be able to do it this year, the 23rd of July. Hopefully you'll be able to check that out. And if that's not your thing, fortunately on the exact same day and the day before, there's the Makers Market that's going to be going on. That's a center spread with all the other businesses in Neepawa that are going to be supporting it in some way or another, or putting on special events. They hope that the people that will be coming into that will maybe come around, check some of the things out there, because there were last year about 1,000, just over 1,000 people that came down to the Makers Market to check out the craftsmen, the artisans, all the individuals that were involved. Now this year we're going to be having again, Casper Rehan was able to write up a preview, in essence, about what's going to be going on there. And they did a good job of not just talking about the Makers Market, Kira, but also about this little musical sort of showcase that's going to be a part of it as well. Rockin' the Riverbend. Now, you had a chance to read through this story, and you're one of the young people out there on the scene with the rock and or roll music. What do you think about the addition of a little bit of a musical, eclectic sort of thing to this year?
I think that's a really cool idea. I knew that this Rock in the Riverbend event was going to be coming up at some point. I didn't realize they were going to be doing it in tandem with the Riverbend Market, but I think that's so smart. The first day, they're going to be having some like kind of acoustic, a little bit quieter music during the market. So there's going to be that atmosphere, and people are going to be able to look at the art that is being made by people's hands and then listen to the art that's being made by people's mouths.
Or fingers for the guitars.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So it sounds like it's going to be really cool. I know the Makers Market was a huge success last year. I went to it. There was lots of cool stuff there. But yeah, thinking about it, now thinking there's going to be music, it almost seemed like there would have been something missing last year without the music. So this is going to be really cool. And then for the people who are really into going to the concerts and things, they are going to be able to see and focus on that the next day. It's going to be after the market is done, right?
An actual full stage will be set up with a sound system, everything. It's going to be like concert in the park type thing. It's really, Jeff Descender's the individual who's taken the lead on that. He's part of Neepawa Tourism, a board member, and he's really excited about this opportunity to take this and present it to the masses. So, and it's not just sort of locals. There will be one or two local artists, but these are very well-regarded artists from all over Manitoba and all over the prairies here. Professional. This is professional artists that are coming, taking their time, and they're going to be a part of this. So they're all part of Jeff Descender's studio, Frozen Fire Studios, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, which is a developing studio near Neepawa, and they've been able to do a lot of great work there. And Jeff is very excited to be able to show some of that work to people in Neepawa who might be a little unfamiliar. This is going to be a big chance for them and for us to be able to see that. Yeah, but of course the artisans and the craftsmen are going to be a big part of it as well. And Kelsey Wilson was the one who took the lead on that last year, and she's done it again this year. And from what I've heard, even though I'm a board member, sometimes I zone out during the meetings. From what I've heard from here and there, they're going to make it even bigger this year in terms of the number that are going to be there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
it's going to be the same space though, right?
It is going to be the same space. We were a little bit worried because the renovations are going to be going on at the swimming pool. We were worried they were going to be starting and they were going to force us to be moving over to another field a little closer to the old elementary school, the old school. But fortunately, well, maybe not fortunately, but due to circumstances, the work on the pool has not started yet and will not start until the fall because, you know, that's just the way municipal construction is sometimes. And not just picking on Neepawa, I'm talking about anywhere, you know. But that's just the way it is sometimes. So we were able to get back into the space we were in last year, right next to the swimming pool, that big field.
Yeah.
And we didn't even use all of the field last year. Now this year we're going to be using pretty much the whole thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you want to learn a little bit more, not only can you find the story on page 12 of this week's edition of the paper, but it's a center spread of the Riverbend Makers Market where it talks about all the different businesses that are supporting the Makers Market in some capacity, and hopefully you'll support them. They're either going to have sales, notable sales on during it, or just go down and visit them. Check them out during there. We're going to be doing that as well. I'm going to be assisting in some way, shape, or form, but we're going to be saying, hey, if you want to, head over to this business. Go on up to the downtown. Check them out. Because that's what this is about. That's what tourism is all about. We want to bring people to Neepawa. We also want to bring them to Neepawa businesses. We just don't want them wandering around the flats or wandering around the Makers Market next to the pool and then leaving. We hope they stick around, maybe do a little shopping downtown, maybe have a bite to eat, one of our local restaurants, that type of thing.
Give us your money.
Yes, we want, for all you travelers, give us, please. You know,
that's all we want from you.
It's all about money. It's all about the, you know.
We don't really care if this entertains you or not. If it brings you here and it gets you to spend money, then that's what the success is.
All right, Kira, quit being honest, all right? That's a little bit too much on it. We try and be as honest as possible. That's a little too much honesty. But
whoops.
It'll be a little bit of fun as well, hopefully, for you. And quick congratulations as well. On that same page, you'll see a picture of Ken Waddell, publisher of the Neepawa Banner Press. He received a little bit of recognition from the Manitoba Community Newspaper Association. Essentially, in a way, it's almost like his gold watch type thing, but he received a commemoration from them, the Lifetime Membership Award. It's an award that's given out every year to notable individuals within the newspaper industry, within the publication industry. It's something that they try and recognize those individual years of service that have been put in. And of course, Ken's been doing this for 30 plus years now.
Enough years to make him old, I guess.
No, yeah. Enough years for him to be, you know, for them to give him a lifetime membership and feel good about it. It's like, you know, oh, that's just dark. That's just, maybe Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Wow, Owen.
But I said it. It's there. It's out there.
No.
So what?
It's permanently burned into the screens of people all over the world.
Let's be honest. Ken's probably going to outlast us all. He'll find a way to outlast us
Somehow.
all.
Yep.
But yeah, congratulations to Ken. The picture and the cut line information on that can be found as well on page 12 of this week's edition of the paper. There's so many other things on the go in this paper. We barely have time to cover them, and plus we don't want to. But we got work we got to get back into the office and do. We're just going to quickly review. Kira's got a story about a meeting on the Immigration Advisory Council. They held a consultation event here in Neepawa, with immigration being a big part of Neepawa and so many new arrivals. Maybe that's something you'll be interested in and read a little bit more about. Ken's columns, as always, is what's interesting, Kira, as well. For the adverts, for the perspective page, we got so many thumbs up, thumbs down this week, but almost all of them were thumbs down.
A lot of downs this week, yeah.
We're not going to say what they're for. You got to pick up a version of the paper and see it for yourself. But a lot of people are a little upset, a little ticked off about a lot of different things in the region.
And it's not even all the same thing. There's different things people are annoyed about.
Yep.
And I can't blame them.
And quite honestly, yeah, it's one of those things of, yeah, you're kind of right on that. You really are. Our regular features, Helen Drysdale with the pasta salad recipe, I'm sure you're going to love. Casper, again, with the looking back page. And sports as well. There were a couple items of note for sports. I did an article this week about Hayden Deleoy, a young golfer who we've talked about many a time over the last few years. He is, as we speak, competing at the Junior Boys Provincial Championship in Winnipeg. He was very much looking forward to that opportunity, hoping to improve on last year's standings. And he'll be competing in the Men's Amateur Championship in the weeks ahead. That's for an open. That's for whether you're, from 16 to 60, essentially. So it is a big level of competition. He's feeling confident about what he can do at the junior, but obviously for the amateur, it's just for the opportunity, just for the challenge himself. But he's been working on his game the last little while. He's feeling confident about his short game, about his putting right now. He feels like he can really bring something to both these events. So hopefully we'll be able to talk in the next couple of weeks and bring you some positive news on that. All right, now, other than that, there's so many others. The Carberry page, Gladwin Scott, always appreciate him sharing some of the things that are going on in Carberry. An unfortunate story about a vandalism in Minnedosa that just cheesed me off a little bit. It did. About one of the local things. We don't have enough time to go into it. That's why you need to pick up a copy of the Banner Press, and you can do that in and around Neepawa, the surrounding communities. You can pick up a physical copy of the paper, or you can find it online at mywestman.ca. Each and every week, Kira uploads that onto the page. So
Trusty me.
That's right, because none of us want to do it.
Nope.
We're too lazy.
You had a hard time while I was on holidays, I'm sure.
That's right. That's right. But fortunately, we figured it out just in time for Kira to come back and show us how we were doing it wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
But again, that's so much more to cover and so much more to talk about. That's why you need to pick up a copy of the paper or check it out online. But if you have a story suggestion or anything like that for future editions of the Banner Press, give us a call at 476-3401. We'd maybe not like to hear from you. Sometimes we're busy, but we'll talk to you. We will.
Now who's being too honest?
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little busy. It's like, oh, God.
Why is the phone ringing?
But no, that's just me being a jerk. My apologies. But you can email us as well at news@neepawabanner.com. Any story suggestions. We try and get to each and every one as best we can. And we appreciate your help and your support in all of those each and every week. So once again, Kira, thanks for coming in, sitting down, and telling us about what you did this week.
Thanks for letting me talk because you did nothing.
I did jack diddly squat, except for that one story I'm very happy to share with you. So I appreciate you taking the time and spending it with us. Have yourself a good week.